Okay, so Bez Hashem, today we're going to be starting Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Nun Zayin Amud Bet, 57b. We're holding on B4, second to last line on the page of Vasavar Rabbi Meir, but it's really a question and what Rabbi Meir is thinking, or Meir is stating. So really have to look back a little bit further on that same page, 57b4, the left side, where it says Tanya Kaveta de Rabbi Yochanan. A Braita was taught according to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. So in this Braita, it's going to be stating a statement from Rabbi Meir. So let's take a look at the statement of Rabbi Meir, and then we'll ask the question of Rabbi Meir and go through today's sugya. The statement from Rabbi Meir, talking about Shav Mitzvah Bnei Noach, especially the mitzvah of Arayot, to stay away from certain forbidden marriages, forbidden relations, and he says as follows: anything that a Jewish Beit Din would kill a Jew for committing the sin with the proper witnesses and everything else, the warning, then Vein Noach Muzar Leid. Those are the same arayot, the same forbidden relations that you would punish a guy for. You kill him. In Beit Din but if the Jewish court would not kill a Jew for that sin, for example, someone being with his own sister, whether it's the sister of the mother, whether it's the sister of the father, the wife of his brother, the wife of his father's brother, the sister of his wife, all those cases, Torah just says it's not allowed, and it's karet, but it's not punishable by the court. It's not punishable in the hands of men. We don't kill him. B'dei shemayim, karet. So then a goy would be allowed to do this. Rabbi Meir. Those are the words of Rabbi Meir. So very simply put, the Braita says that if it's something that a Jew could potentially be killed for that sin of this forbidden relations, then a guy would be also. If a Jew would not be, then a guy is allowed to. That was the statement of Rabbi Meir. So now we start arguing more. But Rabbi Meir, is this really Rabbi Meir thinks? Is this really Rabbi Meir holds? Call erva. Is it true that anything that a court would kill a Jew for, a guy would also be killed? But now let's listen to this Braita. We're gonna have to go through this whole Braita. It's a long Braita, and then I'll point out where from this Braita doesn't seem to go with Reb Meir Shita. So let's take a look at this Braita first. Tanya ger shahayita horato shelo b'kedusha v'ledato b'kedusha. So the case here is there's a ger, and he's a Jew, but he's born from a mother who conceived him when she was a goya, but she gave birth to him when she already went through gerut and she became a Jewess. So he was conceived out of holiness, but he was born in holiness. He was born a Jew. Okay, now let's just talk about a ger for a moment. Halachically, when a ger becomes a ger, so when a guy leaves being a guy and becomes a Jew, halachic status is for him that he has no relatives. He has no relatives. He's born anew, and he has no relatives. Meaning, how does this play out? That, let's say, his biological sister, just use that example. Let's say you can even use an example of a biological mother. His actual mother gave birth to him. All right, I'm talking about a regular ger right now. I'm talking about the ger that was born through a ger. Talking about a ger. He became a ger, and his mother also became a ger. Technically, halachically, they have no connections between them, and therefore, on a deoraita level, they were allowed to marry each other because they're not related. Because each one is considered a brand new person with no relations. So all their biological relations are not considered in halacha. Halachically, they're not related, and therefore the man would allow to marry his sister, allowed to marry his mother, and those are permissible on a deoraita level. Chachamim were worried. Chachamim said, "Okay, what do we have just now? We had a guy, right? And the guy, as a guy, was forbidden to be with his mother. Right? That's one of the 6 arayot that we're going to learn, and we saw last week. He's not allowed to be with his mother. He's not allowed to be with his sister from his mother's side. And if he's with them, you kill him. And now all of a sudden he becomes a Jew. Now all of a sudden he becomes a Jew. And it's permissible. What's the gear gonna think? The gear is gonna think it looks like there are more restrictions at me as a guy than as a Jew. There's less restrictions as a Jew. I'm allowed to be with my mother. I'm allowed to be with my sister as a Jew. Whereas I wasn't allowed to be like that when I wasn't a Jew, when I was a guy. So came the Chachamim, and the Chachamim said, we're going to have to keep in place some of those arayot, even though halachically from a Doraita level, he's considered a born anew, and he has no familiar relations to anyone. But we're going to have to keep in some of them, so he doesn't think that being Jew is less than being a guy. Okay, now which ones did the Chachamim put into place? This is something we're going to see a little further on in today's Gemara. Is when Avraham Avinu ends up in the land of Plishtim, right? The king of the Plishtim, Avimelech, he takes Sarah, right? Because Avraham Avinu said that was my sister. Eventually, he finds out that Sarah is actually his wife, and he says to Avraham Avinu, "How did you do this?" So Avraham Avinu, he answers back and he says, "She is the sister from my father and not the sister of my mother." Right? The Gam Omno Achoti Vat Avihi Achlo Bat Imi. That's the pasuk that Avraham Avinu tells to Avimelech. So from there we learn, and we're going to see lahalacha l'maisa shortly, that a guy is forbidden to be with his sister from his mother, but he's allowed to be with a sister that he shares only with his father. That means a half sister from his father's side. He's allowed to be with her. Because of this pasuk that Avraham Avinu said. Avraham Avinu said, she's a sister from my father and not from my mother. Meaning, if a mother, it's asur to be with the sister, but if it's a sister just from my father, then it's mutar.
We're talking about being intimate or being married with them?
Being intimate and being married, no matter what.
How about for Jews? Is it the same?
No, it's not for Jews, it's for Goyim. Goyim. Right now we're talking about Goyim. Okay? Jews are completely awesome. But for a Goy, means even today, the Goyim, technically, are allowed to be with their half sister from their father. Just not a half sister from their mother. That's the issue. Chum said, now if we have a ger and he becomes a Jew and we allow him to marry everyone because he's technically halachically not related to anyone, he's going to think what? Thinks that as a guy I had more restrictions. And Jews have less restrictions. So we say no. We're going to keep into place certain restrictions. Which ones? That are from his mother. Those restrictions that come from his mother's side, we're going to keep them in because a guy is not allowed to do those. So we're going to keep them in place. Even though halachically he's allowed to marry them, but we're going to keep those in place because we don't want him to think that that Judaism is less than Shevet B'nai Noach. Okay, that's one idea. Now, a second idea is we also have to be worried about what other Jews would think, right? For example, the Gemara we just learned, the writer that we were bringing the question from, said he was conceived as this guy who was born. He was conceived while his mother was still a Goya, and he was born when she was a Jewess. Why dafka this situation? What difference does it make? If he was born when his mother was a Jewess, so why couldn't she be pregnant as a Jewess already after being a Gioret and then being pregnant, and then delivering everything while she already converted. Why is it the bride choosing this specific case? She conceived, she got pregnant when she was a guy, and she gave birth when she was a Jew. Why dafka this case? Sir Ashi explained because of this worry. What's the worry? If she conceived as a Jew and gave birth as a Jew, right? Then people would confuse him for a real Jew. He is a real Jew now, but people would confuse him for a Jew. And now all of a sudden he marries his sister, right? Because if he marries his sister, right? He's allowed to marry his sister. His sister is what's it called? Not related to him, older sister that became a Georit before he was born, right? Or even after he was born, whatever. She became a Georit on her own. She's an older sister. She's not related to him. So technically, he can get married. But people are going to say he's a Jew and he's marrying his sister because they think that he's Jewish because his mother was pregnant and got pregnant and gave birth while she was a Jewish. So there's this concept also that we have to be worried what the guy with the gear would think, what the convert would think, and at the same time, be worried what other Jews would think based on what he's doing. Okay, so therefore, the Chachamim left in some restrictions, even though from a halachic to oraita level, he's allowed to marry even his mom, even his sister, because he's not halachically related to them. He's not halachically related to any biological relative. All right, that's the hakdama, and with this now we can go through the Braita. So the Braita said, again, we're going to start from Ger. A Ger, a convert, that he was conceived when his mother was not yet a Jew. And she gave birth to him when she was a Jew. We leave him with relatives from his mother. But we don't leave him relative from his father, because remember, Avram Avinu said, she's a sister from my father, not from my mother, meaning from the mother, then it's usher. So we leave in those relatives from the mother. Haketzad, what's such a story? What's the case? Explains the Braita. So this ger, this guy who was born from his mother was a ger. Nasa achato min ha'em yotzi. So he marries his older sister, who is a gioret, and so they're not halachically related. But since it's a sister from the mom, and it would have been usher if he was a guy, then we don't let him when he becomes a Jew, because otherwise he'll think that being a Jew is less. So nasa achato min ha'em, he marries his sister from his mom. Yotzi, he has to leave. We don't kill him because it's not usher, right? It's not an isser. There's no isser to kill him that will lead to him being killed. But you don't let him stay together because you don't want him to think that it's okay. And Jews have less restrictions than Goyim. Mina'av, but if he married his sister from his father, Yikayim, then he's allowed to stay with her, because as a guy, he would also be allowed to stay with her. So he's not going to think it's any less. Achot ha'av min ha'em yotzi. If he married his father's sister, but the father's sister is a sister from the father's mother, right? So then we have to send him out. Again, it's a mother relative, even though it's not his mother's relative, but it's his father's mother's relative. So you don't let them stay together. Min ha'av yekayim. If it's the father's sister, he's marrying his father's sister, but it's a father's sister from the father, so his grandfather's daughter, but not his grandmother's daughter from the father's side. So then he's allowed to stay with them. He's allowed to stay. Achot ha'em min ha'em yoitzi. Achot ha'em min ha'av. The sister from that's the next history. Now, achot ha'em min ha'em yotzi. So if he marries his mother's sister, but the mother's sister's from the mother's mother, but then you have to separate them because again, it's a maternal side. Achot ha'em min ha'av. But if he marries his mother's sister, but it's his mother's sister from his mother's father, so then there is a question. There's a machloket. So if it's his mother's sister, but a mother's sister from a father, Meir or Meir Yotzi. Meir says you still have to separate them. You're right. It's not from the mother's mother, but it's from the mother's father, and should be allowed because it's not a mother's relative. However, mother is involved, so we're worried people won't differentiate between a mother's sister from a father and a mother's sister from a mother. Therefore, take them out. Come say Yikayim, he can stay with her because people will know it's a mother sister from a father versus a mother sister from a mother. Now comes the statement again. Any erva which is because of a mother's relation, it's an erva because of a maternal relation, yotzi, mishum sher ha'av. But if it's a father relationship, it's a paternal relationship, yekayem. They can stay together. Okay. Now, obviously, in all these cases that he's marrying someone's okay, the next case. So mutter be'eshus achiv, and he's allowed to marry his brother's wife, right? Like obviously he's not marrying his brother's wife when his brother's married to that wife, to that woman. Whether he's dead or whatever the story is, and she's now permissible to him. Even though she's her brother's wife, it would be permissible. Uveshus achi aviv, and with the wife of his father's brother. Ushar kol arayot mutarat law, and all the other arayot are permitted to him. So he's allowed to. He's a ger. He's allowed to every other type of arayot. Only the ones from the mother's side, whether his father's mother or his mother or his mother or his mother's daughter, those are also. Everything else is mutar. What does it come to include? Ushar kol arayot mutarat law. La'atuya eshet aviv comes to include even the wife of his father. Okay, now this is, by the way, the question Rabbi Meir, right? Because the whole thing is we're bringing that Rabbi Meir statement here with the Rabbi Meir statement before. Rabbi Meir statement was for wherever a Jew would get killed after a guy gets killed, and one of the things a Jew gets killed for is if he's with the wife of his father, wife of his father. And now it says that this guy, this ger, he's allowed to marry the wife of his father. Meaning that for a guy, it is permissible to marry the wife of his father. So that's already a question, Rabbi Meir. All right, let's see the next the continuation of the Braita. Nas the Isha of a ger, a guy who became a ger, and he marries a woman, and he marries the woman's daughter, and now they became Jews. So, they're really not related to each other. They should be allowed to stay. However, we don't let. Konus, acha, umotzi, acha. We tell them, take one in, take one out. Meaning, although you're not halachically related, right? Biologically, you still are. And we're going to, because it's a mother's side, so we're going to have to separate. One in, one out. And in all these cases, lo yichnos. It's better that he doesn't get involved in such things. He shouldn't marry them. Even though we're saying it's permissible here and there, this and that, better not to do it. What about a case, Meta Ishto, if his wife died, he would be allowed to marry his mother-in-law. The only time the gzera, if you're not allowed to marry a mother and a daughter when they're gerim, is only when they're both alive. But if they're not both alive, then the gzera doesn't apply anymore because really they're not halachically related to each other. So if she's dead, then he's allowed to marry his mother-in-law. Again, now marrying a mother-in-law in Judaism is capital punishment. So in here, Rameir is saying that a guy would be allowed to marry his mother-in-law. Vika de Amre, Asr. And some say it's Asr with the mother-in-law. So if you take a look in the art school in note 20, he's going to explain the issue with the Rameir. Again, we had a Rameir statement. That was statement number 1. Was anywhere a Jew would get punished, that's where a guy would get punished. Statement number 2 was we had this whole Braita and we were showing that a ger is not allowed to marry those who would be usher to him as a guy. And those who would be permissible to him as a guy, he will allowed to be marrying them. So starts in note 20, he says as follows. So what's the question? Here he permits, in this Braita, permits his father's wife, because a nohai, a guy is allowed to marry a father's wife. But we know according to Jewish law, the Jew is not allowed to marry his father's wife. Even if he's dead, he's not allowed to marry his father's wife. So the Braitas don't add up. Two state in Reb Meir, and Reb Meir is holding two different things. The mother-in-law also is the case. According to Jewish law, if someone's with his mother-in-law, it's a capital punishment. Whereas here, Reb Meir said, mutar, he's allowed to be with his mother-in-law. More so, we said that if the guy marries his sister from his mom's side, he's hayav mita. But we know in the Torah, it says if a man is with his sister, it doesn't matter which side, he gets karet. We don't kill him. They shemaim, they take care of him in heaven. He gets karet, but he doesn't get killed. So Reb Meir has two statements, and his two statements are contradictory. Either they get punished exactly like a Jew, Or he seems to be that the guy have different punishments. They get killed when the Jew won't. They get killed. They're allowed to do stuff that Jews would get killed for. So which one is it? Which Reb Meir is it? The steer in Reb Meir, the contradiction of Reb Meir. So Amar Reb Yehuda. Reb Yehuda says, "Lo kasha." It's not a question. We have to remember who Reb Meir was. Reb Meir was a student of two great rabbis, Rabbi Eliezer. He learned Rabbi Eliezer, he's Mashamish Rabbi Eliezer, he served Rabbi Eliezer, and he got a lot of knowledge from Rabbi Eliezer. And then he went and he learned from Rabbi Akiva. So sometimes Rabbi Meir says a statement, the statement is Rabbi Eliezer's statement, and sometimes he's saying Rabbi Akiva's statement. So you have to know when he's saying which statement. Titania. I say, Lakasha, ha, Rabbi Meir, I'll leave with Rabbi Eliezer. Ha, Rabbi Meir, I'll leave with Rabbi Akiva. It's going according to Rabbi Eliezer and going to Rabbi Akiva. Which one's going to Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Eliezer was this Braita that we just learned. They went through the ger and the guy, which is allowed and which one's not allowed. You don't want him to think that he's more kaddish as a guy than as a Jew. So that's Rabbi Eliezer's Braita. And that's why he gets killed in certain cases and when certain cases are permissible. But Rabbi Akiva is a statement that says whatever a Jew is aser, a guy is also aser for it. That's the statement of Rabbi Akiva. And what's it based on? Now we're going to see the machloket. The Tanya. It was told in the Braita. Al Kain Ya'azov Ishet Aviv et Imo. There's a pasuk in Sefer Bereshit, and the pasuk reads in its entirety. If you take a look at the Torah Shalom, and it says Al Kain Ya'azov Ishet Aviv et Imo v'Davik v'Ishtav v'Hayu l'Basar Echad. So now we're going to make a drasha on this pasuk, and we're going to learn the arayot of the guy because this was said to Adam Rishon, so it applies to all mankind. What does that mean? A man should leave his father and his mother. Remember the Azaimer, when it says Aviv, when it says father, it doesn't mean stay away from the father, don't have a relationship with the father. It means Ahot Aviv. It means with the father's sister. That's the Isser. Imo, when it says mother, it means Ahot Imo. It means the mother's sister. And that's the Isser. Rabbi Akiva, so that's what he said, Ahot Aviv. So remember he said, if you can marry the sister of your father, I mean your aunt, your father's sister, but it's from your father's sister's mother, right? So then it's Chayam Mitah, he said in the Braita. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Same thing, Imo, Achat Imo. If it's the mother's sister, obviously the mother also, the mother's sister is also, the mother's also Asur, and the Achot Imo. So he marries his mother's sister from his mother, it would also be Asur. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Kiva says, no, Aviv. When it says father, it means Eshes Aviv. It means the father's wife. That's why Rabbi Kiva said whatever is also for the Jew is also for the guy. Because Eshes Aviv is also for the Jew. Eshes Aviv is also, wife's father is also for the guy. Imoy, when it says Imoy, it doesn't mean sister of the mother. It means Imoy Mamish. It means the actual mother. Now, before we go into the Machloker, there's Rabbi Kiva, why they're learning different, we're going to finish up the Braita, finish up darshaning the pasuk, and it's according to everyone. V'davak, the word v'davak means cling, v'loy b'zachar, and not with a male. Of a davak be'ishto, it says, the way the Rambam understands it. Davak be'ishto, you cling to a wife, I mean not to a male. Therefore, goyim are forbidden to have homosexual relations. Sir, by death. Be'ishto, it says wife, your wife, below Ve'eshes Chavera. A guy is not allowed to be with his friend's wife. It's an Isser also that can lead to Hayav Mitam. Or Hayav L'Basar Echad, and they're going to be able to make a Basar Echad, meaning they're going to make an offspring that's viable. Mishanasim Basar Echad, that they have to be those who can make an offspring. So Yatsu Behema V'Haya. So excluded from this, they're not allowed to be with the Behema or Chaya or any animal because you cannot make an offspring between them. You can't make a Basar Echad. You cannot make a living being from those unions of a man and an animal. So those are the arayot. Now, before we move on to the mahloket, just want to review the Rambam from last week. Based on this, it's based on this Braita. Rambam said there are 6 arayot that are forbidden to the guy. What are the 6? It's only these 6. Okay, ha'em, the mother. He's not going to be with his mother. Ve'eshes av, and his father's wife. Going like Rabbi Akiva, right? Ve'eshes ish, and his friend's wife. Va'achoto me'imo, and his mother, his sister from his mother. That's not based on this pasuk. We're gonna have to see where the Rambam gets this one from. V'zochor, right, and the male uvehema shenemar, because it says Rambam says al ken yazov ishadaviv. Person should leave his father. Zu ishadaviv. He's not allowed to be with his father's wife. Vet imo kemashma. Imo means not allowed to be with his mother. It means mother actually. V'davak v'ishto v'lo v'eshes chavero. He should be clinging to his wife and not to his friend's wife. V'ishto with his wife, v'lo v'zachar, and not with the male. V'yol basar echad l'hotzi behem achaya ve'o she'enu behem basar echad, and be one flesh, and that excludes an animal because he cannot make one flesh. Now, where does the Rambam get that the guy can't be with his maternal sister, his sister from his mother? So because it says by Avraham Avinu said, Achoti bat avihi, she's my sister from my father. Achloi bat imi, but she's not a sister from my mother. Meaning that Avraham Avinu was explaining that by Goyim, the world of the realm, because remember, Avraham Avinu, there's no Jews yet, right? It's all going according to Shemitz B'nai Noach. And he was saying that if she's a sister from my father, it's permissible to me to be with her. So that's what the Rambam says. The only Isser is to be with a sister from the mother. Interesting. These are the only 6 arayot by a goy. That means on this list, there was no daughter. And we're going to see the Gemara Ferish is going to say, and that's going to be a Lachal, that a guy is allowed to be with his daughter, and it's not considered an Isser. There's no Hayamita. There's no arayot on that. Now, obviously, it's socially taboo, and possibly that's the Ramban that says Dinan was that they were able to make laws for society, and they could include that. But on a Doraita level, from these 6 arayot that we see, the Bito is not on the list. The daughter is not on the list. Okay, we're going to see it in the Gemara shortly. Let's just go a little further into the Gemara. Amar Mar. Now you have to understand Rabbi Eliezer Mekiva. Why are they arguing how to understand the word Aviv? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Aviv, Achot Aviv. It means the father or sister. That was the brayta that we saw. Father, sister from the mother. So why are we saying Aviv means the father sister? Say it means the father. The man is not allowed to be with his father. Gemara says Hainu Davik, but that's the word Davik. It means you should stay with your wife and not with a male. So you don't have to tell me you can't be with a father because the father's a male. So you can't be with a male is already covering that. So Ema Isha's Aviv. So say when it says Aviv, say it means the father's wife. Why are you saying the father's sister? Gemara says Hainu Beishto, father's wife is someone else's wife. That's already where it says Ishto, not your friend's wife. So that's already covered. So Emelachar Mita maybe means that you can't be with your father's wife even after death, which Rabbi Eliezer lets, right? Why? Because he says Dumya de Imo. No. Compare Aviv de Imo. Ma Imo de Lav Ishus. Just like by a mother, it's not through a marriage that she's usher. She's usher because she's a relative. She's biologically related. So Af Aviv the Lav Ishus. Even with father, where it says father, it doesn't mean a father's wife. Rather, it means a father's relative who's not related through marriage, but rather through a blood relative. So it goes through a father's sister. Imo. Rabbi Eliezer said Imo doesn't mean just mother. That's obvious. But Achot Imo, it means the mother's sister. Ve'ema Imo Mamish, maybe it means just the mother. Why are you adding in the sister? So Hainu Be'ishto, V'lo Be'eshes Chavero. You don't have to say the actual mother, because the mother is the father's wife. And therefore, it's someone else's wife. So obviously, also. But maybe it means the mother even after the father's death. The Gemara says, Dumi the Aviv. No, you compare it to Aviv. My Aviv, the Lav Mamish. When it says father, it means obviously doesn't mean actual father, because that I already know from the male. With Davak, you're not allowed to be with the male. So it doesn't mean the actual father. It means the father's sister. Af Imo, the Lav Mamish. So it means mother, it doesn't mean the actual mother, but rather an extension of the mother and the mother's. That means the mother's sister. And that was our Braita, was based on Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Akiva says, Aviv means Ashes Aviv. Means the father's wife. The Ema Aviv Mamish, maybe it means the actual father. No. Hainu with Davik L'Bazachar. Davik already tells you he's not allowed to be with a male. Father's a male, so therefore you don't need that Aviv to mean actual father. Rather, it means father's wife. Ihachi, Ashes Aviv Nami. Why did he tell me my father's wife? Hainu Be'ishto. She's someone's wife already. My father's wife is someone's wife. So I already know you're not allowed to be with her because ishto means with your wife and not with someone else's wife. So Rabbi Kiva would say, just like a Jew is not allowed to be with his father's wife even after he died, even after the father dies. So too with the guy, he's not allowed to be with his father's wife even after the father dies. Imo, when it says imo, Rabbi Kiva said it means imo mamish, the actual mother, like the Rambam learned. Hainu beishto, v'lo beishis chavero. Emo, I don't need why would you say emo means the actual mother? I can learn that you're not allowed to be with his mother because she's someone's wife. Mara says, no, maybe emo ma'anusato. Maybe she is the mother because she was a rape victim of his father, meaning that she's not married to her father, and yet it's still usher because she is emo mama. She's actually his mother. But my kamifligi. So what is the crux of the machloket between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shmuel? So Rabbi Eliezer holds Aviv dunya the imo. When it says the word father, it's like mother. Imo dumida aviv. When it says mother, it means like father, meaning that it is a blood relative. Only actually related and not through marriages. A mother is a mother because she's his mother and not because she's related to him through a marriage. So to the father has to be a relative of the father and not a relative through marriage. Rabbi Kiva, I'd rather it be a father's wife. Why? Dikros ervos aviv, because in the Torah, a wife is considered an erva. La fuke achos aviv, but a father's sister is not considered an erva. The sha'ar aviv ikre. She's just called a she'er, which is considered a family member, a relative, but not considered a erva, the nakedness. Ervas aviv lo ikre. A sister of the father and aunt is not considered the father's nakedness, but rather a relative. So therefore, I rather when it says aviv, it means ashes aviv because that's actually erva. Okay, so now we're gonna have a couple of questions on the different shittot, right? So, question now according to Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said that, and we saw it in the Brayta, that a man is not allowed to marry his father's sister from his mother, from the father's mother. So now we have a question. Tashma. It says in the Torah, "Vayikach Amram et Yocheved dodato." He took Yocheved, his aunt. This is the time before the Torah, so the laws of the Shemitah of Noach was in effect for everyone. So how did he take his aunt if it was his father's sister, and presumably the father's sister from the mother and father? She's a sister, full sister. Gemara says, "Lo, Yocheved was not Amram's full. It wasn't Kahat, Amram's father, Kahat's full sister, but rather she was only a half sister. Dodato min ha'av. She was only an aunt from Kahat, and not from Kahat's wife that had Amram, but rather Kahat had another wife that had Yocheved, and therefore Yikach Amram at Yocheved, and it was his father's sister from his father's father. Okay, and not from the father's mother. Okay, I think I'm going to explain that wrong at first. So it's Vikach Amram et Yocheved. Yocheved was his aunt. His father is Kahat, so it's Kahat's half sister from the father, and that's why it was permissible. Okay, Tashma. Now I have another question. Rabbi Akiva doesn't. The Rambam doesn't learn exactly Rabbi Akiva. The Rambam added on maternal sister. Rabbi Akiva didn't mention anything about a sister. So meaning, according to Rabbi Akiva, a guy's allowed to marry any of his sister, mother's sister, mother's sister, his father. So the question, Tashma. But that's what Avram Avinu said. She is my father's sister from my father, but not a sister from my mother. Which means if she is my mother's sister from my mother, she's also. Rabbi Kiva didn't say any sister is also. According to Rabbi Kiva, guys allowed to be with any sister. The Gemara says, hold on. Avram Avinu, first of all, Sarah is not his sister, not from his father, and not from his mother. She's really a niece. She's his father's grandchild. With Tisbra, You think she was really his sister? She was the daughter, Bat Achiv Havai. She was the daughter of his brother. And since it's his niece, it doesn't make a difference if it's a niece from his mother, or niece from the father, or niece from the mother. Doesn't make a difference. Shire, either way, it's permissible. Right, Avram was just saying fact. I have a relation from her from my father's side, but not from my mother's side, meaning that she's my father's relative. And he was just saying the facts of a relationship. He wasn't saying that she was permissible to him because she is only a sister from the father, because she's not a sister from the father. She's actually a granddaughter of his father. And it would have been permissible for him to marry Sarah any direction. So now the Gemara says, Toshma. Why didn't Adam Rishon marry his daughter? Right, Chava made a sin. Sorry, Tarshus explains. Chava made a sin. She ate from the Eitz Hadat. Should have died. Let her die, and let Adam Rishon marry his daughter and have children from them. You don't need Chava anymore. If my mind was Adam why didn't Adam marry his daughter? Why? In order for Cain to marry his sister. I wanted to build the world through kindness by giving Cain his sister. But if it wasn't for this, asira, it would be forbidden for a guy to marry his sister. Just in this case, it was permissible. More answers no. Kivun ishtari ishtar. Kiva would say, once Hashem permitted it for Cain to marry his sister, he permitted it for all Goyim to marry their sister. Amar Rav Huna. Kuti mutar bivito. A kuti is allowed to be intimate with his daughter. And that's the. Let's just take a look for a second. The halacha. Here's the Rambam, Sefer Shoftim, Hilchot Malachim, chapter 9, halacha 5. Mutar for a ben Noach to marry his daughter, and it's not one of the 6 forbidden relationships to the descendants of Noach. Okay, so that's what Rahuna says there. Kuti mutar b'bitoi. A guy's allowed to be with his daughter. So why didn't Adam Rishon marry his daughter? Because Hashem wanted Cain to get married to his sister. Because when siblings are together in such a relationship, it's a chesed. It's one of a chesed. Torah also uses it chesed who when it says a brother and a sister shouldn't be together, and it calls it chesed. Apparently, when a brother and sister are intimate, they're doing it through via a kindness. It's aser, but it's still under some form of kindness, right? Sometimes kindness that is unmarked, unchecked, can lead to such taboos and such perverseness. Okay, Amrav Huna Kuti also Rita. Someone is saying Kuti is us. A guy is also with his daughter. Teda, you should know Shlosa Rita because Adam didn't marry his daughter. That's how you know it's also. Whereas Elohi, no, that's not the reason. Really, Adam was allowed to be with his daughter. What was the reason Adam wasn't? You see, come out clearly over here that a guy is allowed to be with his daughter, and he's not allowed to be with his sister from his mother. That was the Rambam. His sister from his father he was allowed to be with, and his daughter he also be allowed to be with. These are not arayot for goyim. Okay, now Amar Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda said as follows: Evan mutar be'imo umutar bebito. Why? Yatsa mekal kuti v'nekla Yisrael lo ba. Okay. So Evan, whichever we're talking about, Evan Kanani. Evan Kanani means that if a Jew takes a guy and makes him an Evan, if he's a male Jew, he has to give him a brit milah and he has to tovel him. The guy now gets a classification as Evan Kanani. And he has chiyuvim of mitzvot similar to a woman. All the mitzvot she'ein zman grama that's not bound on time, he has to do. Now he's a ger, right? But he's also an Evan. Now, really, a ger that becomes a ger is not related to any of his former biological relatives. Halachically, he would be allowed to marry them. But however, the Chachamim said we come and make a gezer, so they shouldn't think that as a guy they had forbidden relationships, and now they don't have forbidden relationships, and they can marry anyone they want. So therefore, we still left them in the fact those that were from the mother. That's what we saw all the way in the beginning. So says Rav Chisda, that's true by a ger, but by an Evan, he's no longer a guy. He became a ger to a certain extent, and therefore he doesn't have any relationship to his former biological relatives. But at the same time, he's not a Jew, so he's not going to say, "Oh, as a Jew, I could do things; as a guy, I couldn't." No, because he's an Evan. So therefore, he cannot say that, and no one's going to get confused for that. So therefore, he has the real din of a ger that was born anew and has no biological relatives, and he was allowed to be even with his mother, obviously with his daughter, because daughter even a guy is allowed to be with, according to that opinion, with the Rambam Paskins. But even with his mother, and even with his sister from his mother, he would be allowed to be with them because he's not halachically related to any of his biological relatives. Are there any asurim for an Evid to be with? Yes, those that are not based on family, not based on marriage, those arayot he's permissible to. Those that are not allowed to are, for example, being with a male, right? That remains usher. Being with an animal, right? Those are not really nothing to do with family, and someone else's wife. He's still not to be with someone else's wife. Ish is ish, right? That's still permitted. So he only has 3 arayot. So an Evid has 3 arayot, whereas a guy has 6, and an Evid has only 3. Possibly that's why a lot of times in the Mishnayot and the Gemara it says a lot of avodim leads to a lot of zima, right? A lot of forbidden relationships. Why? Because like I said, they don't have many restrictions on who they can be with. Okay, continuing the Gemara, we're almost done for today. Ki ata Rav Dimi. When Rav Dimi came from Babel, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina, we saw this already last week. If a guy took his slave woman and designated her for the slave man, and then he came and he was with the slave woman, Naharaga, you're going to end up killing this guy. Why? Because he designated the slave woman for the slave man. They're considered married. So now he's not allowed to be with the shivcha because it's considered Ashes Ish, and he did a sin, and he would have to be killed for that. Now, Me'emos, when is the slave woman considered designated to the slave and considered a unit that she's considered like an Ashes Ish, and that if someone else is with her, she's going to get the punishment of Mitah? Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says, when they would say about this woman, if she walks in town and they say, "Oh, this is Tony's girl," right? This is this guy's girl, and they call her by this person's girl, then that becomes everybody knows that this is a designation that she is for this man, and therefore, if someone's with her, they would be considered she's an ish, and they would have to be killed by the goyim. When did she become repermissible? Right? From when she removes her head and her head cover in the marketplace. All right, in the olden days, even the goyim, even the slaves would cover their hair when they were married. So if they took it off, it was a sign of singlehood, but they're no longer together, and then it would be permissible. Because remember, by a guy, there's no get. So therefore, as long as they are together, you're not allowed to be with that woman. But if they're no longer together, then you're allowed to be with that woman. That we already saw from the Rambam last week. Okay. One last interesting halacha from this week's Gemara. All right. Amar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Hanina Ben Noah Sheba al Ishto Shelo Kidarka. If a guy had unnatural relations with his wife, Shelo Kidarka, right, through the anal intercourse, then hayav mita. What if the guy has relations with his wife? Shaloi kedarka, you kill him. We'll have to see this in a second. Shnemar v'davak, it says to cling, which means when it says that a man should be with the v'davak v'ishto, Rashi understands that v'davak v'ishto means you want her to stay with you, so you have to give her pleasure. If you do it shaloi kedarka, it's not so pleasurable, and therefore she won't want to cling to her husband. So therefore, v'davak means you have to be with her only naturally. Amarava. Mi'ika midi, is there such a thing? The Israel lo mechayev. If a Jew is with his wife in the unnatural way, he's not hayamita. There's no isser there. Mechuti mechayev, when you say a guy who is with his wife in an unnatural way, he's hayamita, cannot be. Rava learns it as a leniency. Rava learns it as a leniency. What's the leniency? He says as follows. So there's a married woman, a Gaisha married woman. She's in a committed relationship with a man. And another man comes onto this woman, but he has relations to her only through an unnatural derech. Shalai kedarka, potter. He's not hayamita. My tama. Why? Because my tama, you're not allowed to be with someone else's wife, only with your wife, but it says v'davak. V'davak means in the natural way. But not in the unnatural way. And if it's in the unnatural way with someone else, it's not considered hayamita. The only time a guy gets hayamita if he has vaginal intercourse with someone else's wife, but if he with another guy's wife. But if he had anal intercourse, then he would not get hayamita. Let's just look at the Rambam before I take your question. The Rambam sets it as a halacha. The descendant of Noach who engages in anal intercourse with a married Gaisha woman, is not liable to be executed in the accordance with the opinion of Rava. So that's halacha l'maaseh for goyim. That l'maaseh if they're with someone else's wife, but shalai kedarka, they're not hayav mita. Now, if that guy is with a Jewess, we already saw this before. The guy is with a Jewess, shalai kedarka, he is hayav mita, because by a Jewess, with a Jewess, we know it says mishkevei isha, the layings of a woman, which means anal and or vaginal. Vaginal should be first, and then or anal. It will be both considered intercourse, and he would be hayab mitav for that if he's with a Jewess. But if a guy is with a goya, shalai kedarka, he's potter. He's not hayab mitav. Yes, Amar.
Yeah, this kind of doesn't make sense. If a guy is with his girlfriend or wife and he does unnaturally, anally, he's hayab mita. But if another guy sleeps, yeah, we just said it. Goy,
no, so we're saying that wasn't the halacha, right? That's what he wanted to say the halacha was. If he's with unnatural way with his wife or his girlfriend, he'd be hayam mitav. He said that can't be, because if a Jew is with that, there's no issue there for a Jew to. The Jew won't get punished if he's with his wife and unnaturally. There's no issue there. There's not forbidden, so it can be forbidden for a guy. So what is the halacha? Flip it around. That if a guy is with another guy's wife, but in an unnatural way, then he's potter. That's the way the halacha is.
But if a Jew is, let's say, unnaturally with the goya, is hayamita?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
Obviously, yeah.
I don't know. Someone asked that question on Shabbat too. I haven't had a chance to look into it. I know that a guy with a goya unnaturally would be potter. A guy with a Jewess would be higher. A Jew with a goya, I don't know.
It's like 5 prohibitions, no shifha, zona,
right.
mida.
But would it be hayab mita? I don't know.
And karet as well over there.
Yeah, karet most probably yes, but would it be hayab mita? B'dei adam, b'dei beitin? I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll have to look into it. Okay, so we'll end the share here for today. Bez Hashem will pick up next week from here.
Books. Did you send out the books yet?
I still have them here. I'm trying to get them in. Hopefully, Bez Hashem this week.
Where are you going to send it from Alkiel? How does he pick it up?
He picks it up in the shul, by my brother.
My shul.
Yeah. Can you also do it there?
Yeah. My father usually brings it. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm gonna send it there.
Can you just let me know? I'll send you.
Got it. You got it. No problem.
Have a blessed week. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You too. Shavua tov. Thank you.
Tonight we have a class. 8:30. 8:45.
Yeah, Bez Hashem around 8:40 probably 8:35 something like that. I'll let you know.
Thank you. Bye.
Toda rabah. Shavua tov.